And welcome to the stream, everybody. It's been about 13 days since the last live stream, I believe. Yeah, about 2 weeks since the last live stream. The last live stream we did was with Graham Family Farm. And today we are back and we're going to talk about survival mindset. Hello to everyone in the chat. I have multi-stream chat. We are simulcasting on Facebook, YouTube, X, and Twitch. And I will be able to see all of the chat from all of those different channels on here. So survival mindset. When you're setting the stage talking about survival mindset, your mindset is really going to be key. There's some misconceptions when it comes to survival that it's just about gear and skills. Obviously, skills are a lot more important than gear. But man, mindset is really what may determine whether or not you live or die. If you're a well-equipped person, you can still fail if you panic, make bad decisions, or even worse, completely give up. So survival mindset is really something that you have to be mentally strong if you expect to survive. Not just clouding your judgment, making bad decisions, but if you give up, that's pretty much it. It's a wrap, game over. So you don't want to get into that situation. It reminds me of a story, and I made some notes here so I wouldn't screw the story up. Aaron Ralston, he was the hiker from 127 Hours. He's the guy who cut off his own arm to survive after getting trapped under a boulder. So what happened to this guy? Well, the hiker's worst nightmare is what happened to this guy. I think it was April, I don't know if I have the date right on here, April 2003, Aaron Ralston, who's an experienced outdoorsman, went hiking alone in the Blue John Canyon, Utah. Now, that's a bad idea to go hiking alone if you're not going to tell anyone where you're going, and he did precisely that. He did not tell anyone where he was going, which can really be a critical mistake. If you're going to go hiking, camping, anywhere off-grid, other people need to know where you are, at least a rough timeline, that if they don't see you after a day or 2 days or however long you're going to be there, then they might want to call someone. And preferably, you can give them GPS coordinates to where you're located. You should have some kind of a tracking beacon. Anything that you can have, satellite phone, whatever it is. If you have a proper pace plan, then you should have backup communications if your cell phone doesn't work. Or if you're in the middle of a canyon somewhere, your satellite phone might not work. But if you have any type of clear opening to any type of satellite, even if it's one orbiting, maybe one of those trackers or beacons or anything, two-way radio, something, you really should have something to be able to communicate where you're going to be so that if you do get into a bad situation, you're not going to be stuck out there as long as this guy was. So while he was navigating a narrow slot canyon, an 800-pound boulder basically shifted and trapped his right arm against the canyon wall. He was completely alone, miles from the nearest trail, had no cell phone apparently, and no way to call for help. So he didn't even have his primary, which was a cell phone, never mind a satellite phone or a GPS tracker or satellite messenger, anything. He didn't have any part of a pace plan when it came to communications whatsoever. So that's a bad thing to start with. So this guy, for 5 days and nights, was stuck alone in the canyon, trying to ration the small amount of food and water that he did have. He got dehydrated, exhaustion set in, and then he realized, after 5 days and nights, no one was coming to save him. He tried to chip away at the rock with a small multi-tool, but it clearly didn't work. An 800-pound rock, you're not going to be able to chip away with a multi-tool, or really anything, no matter what you have. It's just, depending on what type of rock it is, you're pretty much screwed at that point. He even recorded farewell messages to his family, thinking or knowing in his mind he was probably going to die. So on the 6th day, this guy's delirious from lack of food, lack of water. He realized the only way was to amputate his own arm. Can you imagine having to amputate your own arm, knowing that that would be the only thing that could save your life, and you're still not sure if it's even going to save your life? You have to put some kind of makeshift tourniquet on, make sure you don't bleed out before you even get out of the canyon. It really is a nightmare scenario. So he used leverage and torque to snap the bones in his forearm, which kind of makes me cringe just even thinking about. Then he used a dull, crappy, cheap multi-tool and slowly cut through the muscle, the tendons, and the nerves in his arm. The most painful part was cutting through the median nerve, which excruciating pain throughout his entire body. And he finally cut through and freed himself. Just that part alone, never mind having to escape after you have to do something like that, it's a little bit mind-blowing. I can't imagine. I don't know what I would do in that situation. I guess you don't know until you're really in that situation. I think most people probably would have given up. Most people probably would have died. So after he amputated his own arm, he was still miles from safety. He rappelled down a 65-foot cliff with one hand, bleeding profusely. So I don't know if he didn't know how to make a makeshift tourniquet, or maybe he tried, maybe it wasn't enough. I'm not sure. Or maybe he couldn't put it on because he just cut off his arm. He had one hand. Now, you can make a makeshift tourniquet, and you should be able to apply it with a piece of T-shirt and a stick with one hand, but maybe he wasn't familiar with how to do that. I never actually saw the movie, full disclosure, but I read about this story quite a long time ago. So this guy rappelled down a 65-foot cliff with one hand. Then he walked over 7 miles through the desert in the scorching sun. Now remember, he's already dehydrated. He's already probably so close to the brink of death. Finally, he came across some hikers, and he was able to call for a rescue team. He was airlifted to a hospital, and they said he would have died within hours if he had not acted. So can you imagine having to go through anything even remotely similar to that? But that should make you think. The first thing he did wrong was he went alone, and he didn't tell anyone. You can go places alone, that's fine, as long as people know where you are. The second thing he did, he didn't have a pace plan. He didn't have proper communications if he did get lost or trapped or whatever the case may be. So those are two huge mistakes that would cost most people their lives. And I'm sure it's cost many people their lives over hundreds of years, just making bad decisions and freaking out about it. So some of the things that, I think about when I think of Aaron Ralston's survival mindset: pain is temporary, survival is permanent. He endured excruciating pain, but he didn't let it break him. He had that mental toughness, which turned out to be way more important than physical strength. Many people that are a lot stronger than Ralston probably would have given up. This guy didn't give up. He had the mental strength, knowing that if he didn't do what he had to do, that he would certainly be dead. And decision-making under extreme stress, that's always going to be key. He thought strategically, considering all options. Now, he did take 5 days and 5 nights. That is quite a long time trying to figure out what you're going to do. But when the only thought is, I have to cut my arm off to be able to get out of here, you're probably going to wait as long as humanly possible to do that, because one, you might not be able to do it at all. And two, it might be the most painful experience of your entire life, especially if all you have is a cheap multi-tool. That's mistake number 3. Being out in the wilderness, whatever you're doing, not having some kind of a good blade, some kind of a good knife, you just have a cheap multi-tool. There was a lot of mistakes that were made. Anytime you're going to go out and do anything, you should have everything covered: fire, shelter, water, food, signaling, land navigation, personal protection, depending on where you're going and what you're doing. If you're in the wilderness, you should have personal protection. Could be animals, could be people. You never know what you might run into. You never know what kind of situation you might end up in. So you just have to be prepared in all those categories. Even with a small backpack, he should have and could have had at least something to keep himself going. Something, especially when it comes to communications. And even if you don't have those type of communications other than a cell phone, and maybe your cell phone falls, it breaks, at least have people know where you are. If he would have told people where he was going and when he thought he'd be back, whether it's a day, half a day, 2 days, 3 or 4 days goes by, they're going to start calling and saying, hey, he never came back. So they're going to go out and look for him. And if they already know the general area where he was, they probably would have found him, and they could have extricated him out of there, and he never would have had to cut off his own arm. So just think of that when you're thinking of pace planning. It's very, very important. Chico in the comments says, what if I have to use a gas mask? At that point, is it worth it to be a sole survivor situation? Well, there's a lot of scenarios where it would depend. I mean, if you don't have any family, you don't have any children, you don't have any relatives whatsoever that you'd want to try to help get through any type of a crazy situation, maybe you could help other innocent people. It shouldn't just be all about us. So yeah, if you have to wear a gas mask, you should be wearing it until you're out of whatever dangerous area where it's not an issue anymore. Humans are going to want to survive no matter what. Some people might just give up right away. They might take themselves out. But a lot of people They're not going to want to do that. It's your natural instinct to want to survive. And hopefully, it'll be in a lot of people's natural instinct to want to help other people, especially innocent people that you know you might be able to help. So one of the other stories that I wanted to talk about, and I watched the movie, I don't remember what the name of the movie was actually, but it was that Andes flight disaster. It was in 1972. This is where the survivors had to eat the bodies of the deceased to stay alive. So October 13th, 1972, a Uruguayan Air Force Flight 571 was carrying 45 people, which was a rugby team, their family, and their friends. And it crashed into the Andes Mountains due to pilot error. The plane was flying through really dense cloud cover when the pilots miscalculated their position, descending too early and colliding with the mountain. The impact split the fuselage, instantly killing 12 people. The survivors, stranded at 11,800 feet, in freezing temperatures, were left with no supplies, no rescue signal, no way to call for help. Now, 1972, probably not going to have a satellite phone kicking in your back pocket, but in 2025, if you have a satellite phone, and hopefully it's on your belt, or you have it somewhere, and maybe some other people also do, that could really help in a situation like that. If you were in the rare circumstance where you crashed into a mountain in the middle of nowhere on a plane. So these guys, their immediate survival challenge was they had minimal clothing. They were really dressed for a rugby trip, not extreme cold. And temperatures plummeted to minus 30 degrees Fahrenheit at night, which is pretty damn cold. Their only shelter was essentially the broken fuselage of the plane, which provided pretty limited protection against freezing winds. They had almost no food, few chocolate bars, crackers, and wine. So their biggest threats, hypothermia, starvation, and despair. So the search effort, I remember watching the movie with my son, and man, the stages they went through of realizing that, hey, you know what? No one's coming. Nobody knows where we are. You know, they saw rescue planes fly overhead. They couldn't signal them effectively. So, again, fire, water, shelter, food, signaling, land nav. If you have signaling, you should have a flashlight. You should have a signal mirror. Maybe some of these rescue planes were a little bit too far away, but if you had any way to make some type of a signal, it could make all the difference in the world, depending on where you are. After 8 days, they heard on a small radio that the search was called off. Can you imagine? And that they were basically presumed dead, officially. So after 8 days, when you're out there freezing, starving, and you hear that on a radio that you were able to scratch together, that they called off the search, that has to be, if you're not giving up then you are an amazing human being. But again, humans have the will to survive. They don't want to die. They want to survive. So at that point, it was a turning point for them. They realized no one was coming to save them. So comes next, the unthinkable decision. You have to either eat the people who've passed to survive or pass yourself. So after days without foods, your body's consuming muscle tissue for energy. This group of people debated the moral and ethical implications of consuming their friends and their family, which I can't even begin to imagine what that must have been like, trying to talk that over with people and, hey, sorry, we know these are friends and family, but we're going to have to eat them. It's pretty crazy. But ultimately, they made the decision that we have to. If we're going to survive, we have to do this. So that psychological barrier, I think, for them was far harder than overcoming the physical act itself. Some prayed, some asked for forgiveness before actually doing it. Others first refused, but as starvation took over, they gave in, because starvation... Yeah, there's a book called Survival Theory 2 written by Jonathan Holloman from the Grid Down company, and he talks about a lot of different instances in history where large amounts of people starved. He talks about all the different things, and it's a really, really thought-provoking and pretty crazy book, and it really makes you think. A lot of people... They need to get over, they have to override that societal and cultural conditioning to survive in a survival situation. A lot of people, they think that nothing bad will ever happen to them. And that's a really, really big problem. And that's a big problem for a lot of people. They walk around with rose-colored glasses thinking nothing bad will ever happen. So what sets survivors apart? The first thing, I think, the ability to stay calm and control your emotions in an extreme situation. Whatever that situation is, whether you crash into the side of a mountain, whether you're trapped with an 800-pound boulder and you're thinking about the prospect of having to cut off your own arm, maybe you're lost in the woods and it's really cold, you don't know how to get out of there, you don't have a lot of food, you don't have much water. This is where, of course, training is going to come into play. The more bushcraft and primitive skills you have, even if you lost your gear, let's say you fell down the side of a small mountain or you rolled down a hill and you lost your backpack. Or maybe the backpack went tumbling over the cliff and there's no way for you to go down and get it. Well, did you just lose all of your supplies? If you have the training, bushcraft, primitive skills, you won't need any of that stuff if you really have to survive. You can make your own knife out of a rock. There's a lot of different things you can do when it comes to bushcraft and primitive skills that'll negate the need for gear. I still think you should have quality gear because it's easier in a survival situation. You're literally trying to survive. So don't try to build, a bow drill set if you have a lighter or, something like that. Rabbit Hole says, just popped in to give you a thumbs up. FYI, we have already started implementing our checklist. Awesome. Love to hear it, Rabbit Hole. Anybody who hasn't started working on their pace plan, implementing their checklist of things they know they need to do, possibly holes in their survival game, today, right now, if you haven't already started, do it tonight. Do it in the morning. Just the best time to start is right now. Always keep that in mind. So, other than staying calm and controlling emotions, survivors will think logically and proactively, when unfortunately, a lot of the average people will react emotionally. And if you're going to react strictly emotionally, you're going to get yourself into trouble. You have to be able to calm down, take a breath, get your stuff together, try to think logically, try to be proactive. That's why having a pace plan, being prepared, having some type of a bug out bag, even if you're not bugging out, you still need to have supplies. Again, you need to cover your core needs as a human: shelter, fire, water, food. And then depending on where you're going, signaling, land nav, communications, medical gear, not just Band-Aids and moleskins for, long walks, but trauma gear, tourniquets, Israeli pressure dressings, combat gauze, or any type of hemostatic gauze. Don't use the old school powders. Surgeons hate those. You're better off with a hemostatic gauze. And if you don't want to spend the money on a hemostatic gauze like combat gauze or quick clot, get regular S-rolled gauze. You can pack the wounds. Not going to work as well as combat gauze, but it's still pretty awesome. These are the things that you really need to think about all the time, no matter where you are. Let me get back to the chat. Paul Marsters, you must feed the brain with knowledge and skills and faith in God. Absolutely. That is what I believe. And I think everyone should be learning that, not just skills, but also having faith. That should be a very important part. That should be the most important part of your life, actually. Rabbit Peanut says, at least half the fight happens before the battle. Preparation is everything. And at Survival Summit, that's all we talk about is preparation. Sometimes it's kind of like a broken record because there's still a lot of people who don't seem to get it. A lot of people don't think anything bad will ever happen to them, which I guess I can understand. People just want to go to work, spend time with their family. They don't want to think about that kind of stuff, but you really need to. So mental adaptability. Those who survive unexpected disasters can adjust quickly instead of clinging to their old way of thinking. That's very important. So people who survive a shipwreck versus people who panic and drown. Now, just because you survive a shipwreck doesn't mean you're still not going to drown if you can't swim that far, or you get cold and tired, or it's very stormy. Doesn't mean you're always going to live. But there is plenty of people who've panicked and died because they panicked when they might have been able to save themselves otherwise. So it's panic versus control. The brain under stress will release adrenaline and cortisol, which can cloud your judgment. So if you've ever had, what they call tunnel vision, let's say maybe when you were younger you got in a fight. Maybe you hadn't been in a fight before, and maybe you got tunnel vision. Tunnel vision is not the greatest thing to have because it can really cloud your mind, especially if you're in a situation where there's multiple attackers and you have tunnel vision on one person. That could be a real problem. But when your body is releasing adrenaline and cortisol, that's why, when people are training, they should train how they fight. So if you're at the range, you should get your heart rate up, get a little sweaty. Try to introduce a little bit of adrenaline and cortisol into your training so that when there's a real crazy event that happens, you're not going to be, oh, I'm at the air-conditioned range just plinking away at a target. You need to train. It's the same as if you're training in stand-up fighting or jiu-jitsu. You're not just going to go through the motions and just do drills every day. You're going to roll. You're going to spar. You're going to see what it's like when you start kicking it up a notch and then another notch and then another notch. That's just the way that you should train to make sure that you're actually ready for a real situation. So survivors are, they're going to learn how to breathe, how to slow down their mind, and how to think before acting. So why do people fail under pressure most of the time? They have that freeze response. A lot of people will freeze in a dangerous situation waiting for someone else to take action, and that's a bad way to do it. Rabbit hole. We're actually going to talk about OODA loop next. I have that in my notes. Rabid Peanut, financially strapped individuals set aside $10 per paycheck, takes a small buildup. It's how I got my entire medical pack filled with tourniquets, quick clot, gauze, etc. Make a list and start. Absolutely make a list. You really should be writing stuff down. And obviously I want you to get my pace planning book, and unless you buy it on the TikTok shop under my link, I don't have any affiliate deals with these guys. Mad Gear makes a really good contingency planner where it has pre-made checklists for bug out bags. There's a lot of good stuff on here. So check out Mad Gear on either Instagram or Facebook. I think it's madgearco.com, but just check them out on social media. I don't remember their exact website. But definitely make a list. And, like Rabbit says, even if you have to save $10 a paycheck, think about how many times in a week. Maybe you're buying energy drinks. Maybe you're buying coffee. Maybe you smoke cigarettes. Maybe there has to be something you're spending money on that you don't need to, that you can put aside to something that could be more important, like preparedness gear. Give up one of your vices for a couple months, whatever you need to do. Sit down, write a budget, figure out what you actually have for extra money. So let's say you get fast food a couple times a week, or you get Dunkin' Donuts coffee 5 times a week, every day you go to work. Get some Folgers Instant. Get some other coffee you can mix yourself even in a water bottle. If you still need the caffeine, which believe me, I get. I am sucking down caffeine pretty much all day. But sometimes I get energy drinks. Sometimes I literally take Folgers Instant, take a little bit of water out of a water bottle, put like a tablespoon or 2 in, shake it up. I actually love the frothiness from a shaken water bottle with Folgers. Maybe that's not your cup of tea, but you are going to get a kick in the face with caffeine, and you're going to spend, 1% of what you're going to spend every day going out and spending $5 on a coffee or whatever they cost now at Dunkin' Donuts. I don't even know what they cost. But there's plenty of things I'm sure you could cut out. Think of all the stuff maybe that you bought on Amazon that you didn't need, but you just bought it because maybe you thought it was cool. Now, legitimately, there may be people out there who really are on a super tight budget. Maybe you have kids, you're not making as much money, inflation. It might be harder for you to do that. But you still, almost everybody, especially in America, can cut out something. Not everybody, obviously. I'm not saying that. But a lot of us, there's just a lot of things that you could cut out of your life, even temporarily, to save enough money to get things that you might need to survive. Things that you can train with. I mean, it doesn't really cost that much. And even if it takes you a year to put everything together, just do it. Just get it done. Make it happen. So the other thing that a lot of people run into is what they call the normalcy bias. Nothing bad will ever happen to me. A lot of people think that. So many people think that. It's really incredible, the amount of people that think that. People can be in denial, too, during disasters. And when you're in denial during a crazy event, you're going to waste precious time instead of responding. An example would be victims of an attack who ignored evacuation orders. There's so many different things that people just kind of don't pay attention to. If you're in a hotel and you hear the fire alarm go off, a lot of people, they don't rush to the outside of that hotel. They don't, because they think it's, just a test. Well, in a lot of cases, it's not a test. And what if you get trapped? What if you're on the wing of the hotel where the stairs are on the other end and there's no good way for you to get out? Or the fire's on the first floor and you have to get out of a window on the second floor. You need to think about these things. Or You say, you know what, fine. I can't stand the noise. I can't sleep with this fire alarm, so I'll go outside, whatever. And then you get in the elevator. And then it is a real fire, and all of a sudden the elevator stops running and you're stuck. These are things that you really need to think about. Don't ignore things like fire alarms or things that you might see when you're out in public. If you think somebody looks sketchy, somebody looks like maybe they're going to do something crazy, your gut isn't just your gut. I've talked about this in a live stream before. Your gut, in most cases, is your brain interpreting something that's not normal, that your mind is telling you. Your brain is basically telling you, this isn't the baseline. This is not normal. Something's off. That's what your gut feeling is. You're not psychic. It's your brain interpreting signals from the world around you. Basically, your brain doing the OODA loop for you, and you might not even know it's happening. But your gut is saying something's off, something's wrong. Either with this situation or with this person, something is off. That's why they say always listen to your gut. Because you may be picking up signals from other people and situations that your fight or flight, your primitive brain throughout history is saying something's happening. Either flee, run, whatever you have to do, something is wrong. So please don't ever ignore your gut. Your gut is one of the most important things. Again, it's your brain interpreting something is off, and you need to listen to it. That's my opinion anyway. Same thing with poker. If you're really good at playing Texas Hold'em and you hear about super readers, guys who are able to read what other people are doing, it's not because they're some kind of psychic. It's because they're watching dozens or hundreds or even thousands of hands being played by those people. And even if they're not mentally picking up, okay, this is what he's doing with his hands or blah, 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 their brain is. Their brain, in your brain, you might be saying, your brain might be talking to itself going, all right, I watched this guy through 100 different hands. When he's strong, he does this. When he's weak, he does this. And all of a sudden, you get this gut feeling, I think this guy is bluffing. I think he's done this before. That could be your brain interpreting something he's doing that's a tell that maybe you can't specifically point out, or it could be your brain picking up on multiple tells from that person as well. So again, listen to your gut. It's extremely, extremely important. Rabbit Peanut, too many people see weird and think that's prejudicial. But it is. We make prejudgments unconsciously all day long. Don't block it out. And he's absolutely right. Don't ever block it out. If you really want to, learn a lot more about situational awareness, you can check out Sheepdog Response, sheepdogresponse.com. I think they have a new Situational Awareness 2 course. I haven't seen that one yet, but I did see the first one. And unfortunately, the gentleman who starred in that first one is no longer with us. But I need to watch the second one. The first one was excellent too. And it was really eye-opening, the things you'll learn if you take a really good class when it comes to situational awareness. So speaking of situational awareness and decision-making, we will now get to the OODA loop, which I first learned at a Sheepdog Response course. So developing situational awareness using the OODA loop, OODA. Observe, orient, decide, and act. So the first O in OODA is observe, constantly scanning your surroundings for threats and changes. The second O is orient, assessing what's happening in real time. The D in OODA is decide. So make a plan based on your observations. And A is act, and that's execution without hesitation. And you may do the OODA loop, observe, orient, decide, and act throughout a situation when things change as things progress. You may be observing, orienting, deciding, and acting during multiple phases of any type of crazy situation. So the OODA loop is very important, not just in tactical training, but situational awareness. It's the same with preparedness. All this stuff kind of ties in together for you to be a really well-prepared individual who's ready, who's not just, I watch Doomsday Preppers and I think, this isn't from the show, but Nibiru is going to crash into Earth or whatever that story was that I heard quite a while back. You're not planning for one thing. You're not planning for like the big one, the big earthquake, or you're planning for everything. You're planning to protect yourself and your family and provide for those needs. Shelter, fire, water, food are the core needs. Medical, signaling, land nav. I say it so many times throughout the live streams. Human needs are basically the same. And you need to have those areas covered. And if you don't have a good PACE plan, this will be probably my second plug of the book. I'll zoom in on it for you. PACE Planning, your guide to emergency preparedness and bug out strategies. This is a very comprehensive book. It's about, I think it's 268 actual pages. There's a ton of information. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it on our website, thesurvivalsummit.com. You can get it on the TikTok shop now. And eBay. You can get it in a lot of places. Just type in PACE Planning, and it should come up on the internet, wherever. You can pretty much buy it anywhere. So another thing is some people use the color code of awareness, white, yellow, orange, red, and black. And white is basically unaware, unprepared, and that's where most people live. They live in the color code of white. Like you'll see them at the grocery store. You'll see somebody leaving the grocery store, looking down at their phone, walking towards their vehicle, not even paying attention. They don't know who's around them. They don't know who's behind them. If someone is behind them, they don't know how long they've been there. They don't know anything about what's happening around them because they're just not paying attention. And that is a really bad thing, especially for younger women, kids. The stuff going on with sex trafficking is pretty insane. So you need to pay attention. And especially if you have children, you really need to make sure that you're watching those children and you're doing the OODA loop. You're checking your area. You're checking your surroundings. Your situational awareness needs to be on point because you are the protection of those children or your husband or your wife, whatever the situation is. So the next color after white is yellow. It's relaxed, but you're still alert. This is where you should be every day, everywhere you go, no matter what you're doing. You should be in situation yellow no matter what. If you're not, if you're walking down with your head down on your phone or you're not paying attention in any way, you're in the color code of white, and that's not where you need to be. You need to be in yellow, which is relaxed and normal, but still alert, knowing what's happening around you. The next one is orange. So you sense a potential threat, and you're mentally or physically and or both preparing to act depending on what that situation is. Red is immediate action is required. Red is like all systems go. Something's happening. I need to be able to protect myself or my family or somebody else. That's when you're in red. Now, the other color is black, which is total panic. If you're in the color black, that's where most people make the most fatal mistakes. You're completely panicked. You're freaking out. Your adrenaline, your cortisol is through the roof. You're shaking. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to make bad judgment calls. Things could get pretty dicey, which is why it's super important to train as you fight. Train in different scenarios. Take a TCCC course, where they're going over active shooters and you're trying to put tourniquets on really quickly. You're trying to defend. You need to get into a lot of situations, even simulated, that really get your heart racing, that really get you thinking, that really push you to the limit, so that when you get into a real situation, you know what that's going to be like, at least at some level. Better than you would be if you're, have no stress-inducing training of any kind. You don't know how you're going to react because you've never been in that situation. So you need to be really, really careful. So again, those colors of awareness: white, completely unprepared; yellow, you're relaxed but you're very alert; orange, you do sense something's happening and you're preparing to act; red, boom, immediate action. You're doing whatever you have to do. And stay out of the color black because that's total panic, tunnel vision. That's you freaking out. And you'll see it when there's a crazy situation. You've probably seen it many times in your life. People just absolutely losing their shit and freaking out. And you do not want to be that person, especially if you have family that you're trying to protect. A lot of people, and a lot of those reasons why people are walking around in the white, unaware, completely unprepared, because they have an illusion of safety in everyday life. They think, well, there's cops. As long as I don't go down that dark alley, or as long as I don't go to this bad neighborhood, I'm fine. That's not how it works. That makes you very blind to the threats that are out there on an everyday everywhere. Doesn't matter where you are. Suburbs, could be at the mall. Crazy things happen every day, everywhere, no matter what. So you need to be prepared. Don't let yourself be blind to threats just because you have an illusion of safety. That is not how you want to live. So as an example, like how predators, human or animal predators, pick victims who aren't paying attention. What do you think a predator is? Who do you think they're going to go after? Someone who's seems like they're alert, they kind of know what's going on, or someone who's down looking at their phone, not paying attention in any way whatsoever. Or they look maybe like they're weak, or they're scared, or whatever it is. Any type of predator, whether it's a human or an animal, they are going to go after the victims that look the weakest and who aren't paying attention. If you ever saw that video online of that mountain lion who was following that guy and he was videoing it the whole time, if he was facing the mountain lion and talking, the mountain lion would slow down. But when he went to turn to move, the mountain lion would speed up real fast because he wanted to pounce him because has his back to him, or at least partially he thinks he was going to turn around. But as soon as he turned back around, the mountain lion got a little more cautious. It's a predator. It would have tore him apart no matter what. But it would have made it a lot easier if he would have started running away. Because then that instinct of the mountain lion is boom, dinner, served. It's all over. So you need to keep that in mind. Urban versus wilderness, like city threats, crowds, pickpockets, especially if you're in a different country, active shooters, riots, all kinds of crazy situation. Whereas in the wilderness, it's going to be a lot more of weather, predators, disorientation, getting lost, things like that. So I do have a question for you guys in the audience, and that is, if you want to throw it in the chat from whichever platform you're on, what's one thing that you personally do every day to stay aware of your surroundings? Horse Milk 33 says, awesome beard. Thank you very much. My wife hates it, but I'm never getting rid of it. If she's watching, sorry. It's not going to happen. So what is one thing that some of you do every single day to make sure that you are staying aware of your surroundings? No matter what it is. Just throw it in the chat. I'm just kind of curious. We have people here from YouTube, Facebook, X, and Twitch. I may go back to doing Instagram as well, but I don't like how it narrows the screen, and when we're showing gear and going over stuff like that, it's a little more difficult on Instagram. And I have not streamed on TikTok in, it's been a while. I used to do it occasionally before this simulcast, but I haven't streamed on TikTok in quite a long time. All right, doesn't look like we have any takers who want to jump in the chat. Oh, wait, Thomas. I use my Iron Man meta glasses. Okay, smartass. That's funny. I think that actually might be my moderator, or maybe not. I don't remember if that's his sign-in. He's normally would be on my account if he's doing the moderating. All right, anyway. So one of the other things I wanted to talk about was psychological resilience, so how to train your mind for survival. There's something they call the 3-3-3 rule in survival psychology. 3 seconds, control your fear response. That could be deep breathing, immediate focus. 3 minutes, regain control through calm thinking, prioritizing tasks. And 3 hours, plan ahead for the next steps. Shelter, water, survival, food, things like that. Mental toughness drills. If you're looking to test your skills and be a little bit more mentally tough, do some cold exposure training. Even if you're going to start off with ice baths or cold showers, just to increase a little bit of stress resilience. Do a little bit more hiking and camping or things like that in much worse weather so that, I say it all the time. You might be awesome at starting fires when it's nice out. But are you awesome at starting fires and collecting the right tinder and having all the parts of your pace plan for fire work when the weather's terrible? Do you have your lighter as your primary? Do you have stormproof matches maybe as your alternate? Do you have a ferro rod as your contingency? If you have an emergency, can you make a bow drill? Can you use flint and steel? Do you know how to make char cloth? Things like that. It's all stuff that you really need to think about. So decision making under pressure, believe it or not, if you find a really good escape room, that could be something. You could practice even airsoft or paintball, just play aggressively and kind of see where your skills are. Mental puzzles, whatever you can do to try to make your decision making a little bit better. Like if you're going to go to the range and you're going to shoot for a little while, like I said, do some burpees, get some sweat going, get your adrenaline up, get that adrenaline rolling, really get into it, and then work on your drills. Because there's really going to be no situation where you have to actually use your firearm where it's just going to be normal and it's going to be, this is no big deal. You really need to be prepared. You're going to, Tim at Sheepdog Response used to always say, you're going to fall back to your level of training in a bad situation. You're not going to be John Wick unless you train like John Wick, which is impossible because John Wick isn't a real character and the crap you see in those movies is completely unrealistic. But even if it were realistic, unless you train like you're some kind of ninja, you're still going to fall back to whatever your level of training is. And most skills are perishable. If you're not at the range training as often as possible, you're not going to be as good of a shot. If you're not training all the time, same thing with fighting. You might still be a good fighter, but if you're not training every day, you're just not going to be the same. You're going to fall back to that level of training and your level of cardio. There's just so much that goes with it. So, if you were thrown into a crisis today, do you think you have the mental strength to push through? Think about that. Why or why not? Just think about these things when you're trying to think about some of the situations. And again, I go back to pace planning all the time. It's one of the reasons why I wrote this book. Your primary plan, recap your own pace plan. What's your primary plan? Which is your ideal solution? What's your alternate plan? That's your backup if your primary fails. What's your contingency? If both your primary and your alternate fail, what's next? And your emergency plan, your last resort, worst case scenario, is always going to be the E in pace, and you need to have that as part of your plan. So why do we think that even the best plans can fail? Well, shit happens. That's one of them. It's one of the reasons. Another reason, overconfidence in a single solution. Hey, you know what? If something crazy happens and I'm out and some guys come at me, I could just shoot them. I have my firearm. Okay, good luck with that. What if they have a blade? What if they're closer than 20 feet to you, or even worse, 10 feet? Or what if it's someone who has really good skills in fighting and you're 5 feet away? Because if you're in an argument, you're not usually arguing 20 feet away from someone. You're pretty close. So if they get a hold of you, they might take your weapon from you. If you don't know how to fight, if you can't grapple, if you're not good on your feet, if you don't have decent skills and the other person does, guess what? No, you're not just going to shoot them. You're probably going to die, or you're going to get beat up and get your weapon taken from you. I hate to say it like that, but every male on the planet thinks they're tougher than they actually are, until a situation happens where you realize, oh man, I just got humbled. I was talking to a guy, this is probably 10 years ago. He was Force Reconnaissance Marine. He was a pretty badass dude. Not really that great with stand-up fighting. He was working on a job site, and he told me this story once where he got into some kind of minor road rage incident. And there was this really short guy, small and short. And he got out of his car, and the guy got out of his car, and they started jawing at each other. And before he could even get out the next sentence, this guy double-leg takedown, slammed him on his back, got on top of him, and hit him a couple times, and then basically got up and got back in his car and drove away. And this guy was pretty tough. And he said to me, I didn't even know what happened. This guy came at me so fast and basically just took me out so quickly. So if you ever hear someone that says, oh, I don't need to fight, I'll just shoot him. No. You could probably laugh at that person unless they're super badass, because that's a really dumb thing to say. And that's probably someone who's never been in a really crazy life or death situation. Law enforcement go through that every day with different suspects they're trying to arrest. People, they're trying to get control of. People are going for their weapons. You'll see a lot of instances where you watch some of these videos and you realize, man, there's a lot of cops that can't fight to save their lives. They're terrible at it. I think it should be a prerequisite, in my personal opinion. If you're going to be law enforcement and have the ability to arrest, you should have a minimum of a blue belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which can take you like 2 years, maybe a little sooner if you're really, really good, but generally speaking, it's like 2 years. You should have that. That should be a prerequisite if you're walking the beat or if you're going to be trying to arrest anybody. You should have some type of stand-up skills. You should have not just a little bit of training here and there. You really need to have some good skills, because in a lot of cases, if you have the skills to be able to subdue someone, take them down, you'll see a lot of law enforcement will go right to the gun when they probably don't even have to. I'm not talking if the other person has a weapon. I mean, if the other person is just pounding the crap out of them or overpowering them, if they don't have the skills to be able to handle that, you'll see a lot of officers reach for their weapon because their life's legitimately in danger. But part of the reason why their life could be legitimately in danger is because they can't fight for shit. That's not always the case, so don't take it the wrong way if you're law enforcement and you hear me saying that. But you really should have some skills. If your job is to save people's lives, you should have some skill. That's just my opinion. Rabbit Peanut says, speaking of road rage, important to not just have a plan at home, have multiple packs or kits, or get in the habit of always bringing with you where applicable. Yeah, shit hit the fan at work. Do you have the gear to get home? Absolutely. You know, maybe you work in an office, maybe you wear a suit. You might have to keep your go bag in your vehicle. Or you can do, well, it's over there and I got lights and stuff in my way, so I'm not going to grab it. But I have essentially a laptop bag, which is more rugged. It's made by Maxpedition, and I keep some survival gear and things like that in the laptop case. So there's a lot of ways around. And you should still have a little bit more of a comprehensive bag in your vehicle. But what if you can't get to your vehicle? You still should have some EDC, some everyday carry gear on you, whether it's whatever it is. In the winter, I carry a lot of stuff on me in the winter. Ferro rod, medical gear, a tourniquet, matches, stormproof matches, all kinds of stuff. Like a Silcock key, a cat key for heavy equipment. I carry way too much stuff that most normal people wouldn't carry. Escape and evasion gear, lockpick set, all kinds of crazy stuff. I'm not saying you need to do that, but have some gear, especially if it's winter. What if you somehow get stranded and you have nothing? You have no supplies or you couldn't get to them. You still should have a way to protect yourself in a really bad environment, especially a really cold environment. So we talked about overconfidence in a single solution, which happens a lot. Lack of adaptability when circumstances change. And a really good example is people with a plan who never practice. So even if you have a plan for, like, if there's a fire, this is where we meet. This is where we get out of the house. If the fire is downstairs, we go out of the safety ladders upstairs. You can talk about it. But if you've never rehearsed that plan, your plan's basically crap. You need to rehearse every type of plan, whether it's evacuating from a fire, what to do in the case of a flood, where you're going to meet if something crazy happens. Never mind everything in your PACE plan. You need to have just a basic understanding of what you and your family are going to do, depending on what the situation is. Those are pretty much the basics and the bare minimum. You know, so just think about all the stuff we talked about so far and really think about in your own mind, which part of that resonated the most with you? Which part do you think that maybe you need to work on more? We all need to work on something. We all have plenty of things to work on. It doesn't matter who we are or what we do. Everybody needs to work on it. You know, gear can break. Supplies can run out. But your mind is one of your greatest tools. And it is definitely one of your greatest survival tools. Train it daily, meaning your mind. Don't just buy gear. Get your physical skills in order. Train as much as possible, but train your mind too. You know, again, train like you fight. Be prepared for any situation. And the only way you're basically going to inoculate yourself from freezing or going into that color mode of black where you're completely freaking out is if you have, well, maybe you're a sociopath and that comes natural to you. You're not going to freak out because you're just a maniac. There's a lot of people that are like that and they don't freak out when crazy stuff happens for whatever reason. Or maybe you've been through a lot of insane stuff in your life and things don't really shake you. There's some people that, you know, they could be sitting at a bar and all of a sudden there's a shooting that happens 3 tables over from them. They might just still sit there and just casually get up and walk away. I've seen it in videos online. That might be a little bit too comfortable. I think that's awesome if you have that kind of comfort, but if you're not getting into the OODA loop and you're not preparing to act and actually do something, you might still die. So don't just be like a statue. You need to actually have a plan and have training and have some skills. But if you have that natural demeanor where nothing shakes you, just imagine how great it would be if you had a lot of skills and a lot of knowledge. There's just so much that would be going for you, as opposed to the person who might literally lose their mind and just freak out and be shaking and completely frozen, and still be standing or crouching in the line of fire because they're too scared to even move. You see it if people are too high on a ladder or on a roof, they'll freeze. You might have to call the fire department to get certain people off of heights because they will not come down that ladder. I'm sure all of us have seen something like that. They just freeze, and it can happen. And can you imagine if you were to freeze and you had your family? Man, how crazy would that be if something happened and one of your children, God forbid, got hurt or worse, and you froze and you weren't ready? You just don't want to be in that situation. You don't want to know what that would be like. I would never want to know what that would be like. Life is hard enough as it is, and crazy things happen everywhere, at any time, all the time. Just because maybe nothing crazy's ever happened to you, that literally means nothing. That is wearing rose-colored glasses. That is not paying attention. Just don't do it. Watch some videos on the OODA loop. Figure out how that whole system works. And every time you go out somewhere, let's say you go to the supermarket, practice the OODA loop. Observe, scan your surroundings. Who's there? Are there normal, everyday things that go on in that general area if you're familiar with the area? Or is there something different? Or is there someone that might be out of place? Is there anything that just seems odd? Is your gut telling you anything strange? And then assess what's actually happening in real time. And then if you have to make a plan based on those observations, and then you have to act, be ready. Don't just ignore it. Again, if you get anything from this live stream, ignoring your gut could cost your life. Failing to act or thinking that someone else will save the day can cost you your life. Very, very easily, actually. So you need to think about this stuff. And again, not to plug the book again, but I spent a lot of time putting this together based on information like this from things from this live stream. There's 36 chapters. The last chapter, 37, is acknowledgments and thank yous to other instructors we worked with over the years. 38 is basically a glossary. So there's essentially 36 chapters. It's about 268 pages, and it's packed, and it's not a long, boring read where you're like reading stories and you're like, what the hell? I don't want to read this story. It's basically framework where it'll go over the examples of PACE in every category when it comes to survival and preparedness. I mean, pretty much everything. There's a lot, and like I said, it's more of like a reference guide. It's not going to tell you how to make a fire, how to build a shelter, all that kind of stuff. But it's going to give you the reference guide as to what an average PACE plan would be. What's my primary, alternate, contingency, and emergency for shelter or communication or self-defense? There's a lot of examples and a ton of framework in this book that really, I think, will really help you get on a good road to preparedness. So a couple things. We have, what's today? Today is the 18th. We have about 6 days before the giveaway ends. Now, if you don't know about the giveaway, our big bug out bag giveaway that we started, I think 4 weeks ago, I think it was like a 5-week giveaway. It ends next Monday at like midnight Eastern Standard Time. We're giving away an entire bug out bag in a Rush 72 backpack, which is a really good, I think it's a 55 liter. Or it might be a little, I don't remember now. I totally forgot what size it is. But the Rush 72 is basically the winter bug out bag that I've done videos on before. If you've seen it, I have the green one. The one in the giveaway is black, and it comes with pretty much every category. We added ham radios to the giveaway as well, so there's 2 Bofang ham radios for communication, and we also added a 5-pack of Faraday bags, which is like a $230 value. I would say the whole giveaway package is probably easily worth $1,300 to $1,500. And that's for one main winner. Another 9 winners will win the book, Pace Planning, and the newest film, which isn't really that new anymore. We made it a couple years ago. Ultimate Bugging in Home Defense with E.J. Snyder from the show Naked and Afraid on Discovery. So 9 other people, including the main winner, will win the book and the film as well. And I'm pretty sure the main winner wins the book that I co-wrote with E.J. Snyder called Emergency Home Preparedness, which I believe you can only get on Amazon and on EJ's website. But again, if you want the Pace Planning book, if you want it the fastest, you can get it on Amazon. Because if you have Prime, you're going to get it in 2 days. If you get it from my website, thesurvivalsummit.com, it'll ship usually within 24 hours, but it's free shipping, so we're not going to send it like priority. So you might be 3 to 5 days based on regular first class USPS mail, unless you pay for an upgraded priority. So you're probably going to get a better deal if you get it on Amazon, and you'll get it faster. Horse Milk 33, nice. Do you have Gray Man Theory in your book? Yes. As a matter of fact, we do. I don't know if it's a terribly long chapter, but we definitely made a chapter on Gray Man. I should be wearing my reading glasses right now because the words are a little bit funky. Chapter 22 is Gray Man Theory. So we definitely discuss Gray Man Theory, at least kind of the framework for it and some basic information about it in the book, along with a ton of information. There's just so many, my wife gets annoyed when I read the chapters to everybody. She's like, you keep doing that. You're reading the chapter. Nobody wants to hear all the chapters, but you know what? I don't care. All right, so chapter 1 talks about introducing pace and planning to your core human needs. 3 is shelter. 4 is more practical shelter solutions. 5 is water. 6 is food. 7 is fire. 8 is caches. 9 is land nav. 10, the lifeline of emergency signaling. 11, preparing for medical emergencies. 12, access to essential medications. Chapter 13 is the role of self-defense in survival. Chapter 14 is the importance of winter gear in survival. Chapter 15 is balancing weight and mobility. Chapter 16 is adapting to harsh conditions. Chapter 17, building awareness and tracking progress, which has a section on gear assessment and another section for notes and reflection. Chapter 18, pace planning for families. 19, pace planning for elderly or disabled. Chapter 20 is managing major medical ailments. Chapter 21 is security and pace. 22 is Gray Man Theory. Chapter 23, the importance of family, community, and groups in preparedness. Chapter 24, morale and entertainment. Chapter 25, escape and evasion tools and techniques. Chapter 26, situational awareness. Chapter 27 is logistics and transportation in a survival scenario. Chapter 28, financial preparedness. Chapter 29, long-term preparedness. Chapter 30, specialty environments. Chapter 31, emergency communications. Chapter 32, redundancy in knowledge and skills. Chapter 33, specialized scenarios in survival planning. Chapter 34, legal and ethical considerations in survival scenarios. Chapter 35, the importance of faith in God during survival scenarios. Chapter 36, advanced training for survival preparedness. And then there's some acknowledgments and thank yous, and then a glossary. Basically, terminology for survival and preparedness, like SHTF, which shit hit the fan, EDC, which is everyday carry, basic things like that. So that is the book, Pace Planning. So we did hit #1 new release for about 2 weeks, but it didn't hit bestseller. So if you're going to get the book on Amazon because that'll help boost the ratings. The closest I got, I actually think I took a screenshot. The closest we got to bestseller in the survival category, it was a while ago, I don't even know if I have that screenshot anymore, was number 9. Actually, it was in outdoor survival skills. So number 9, and actually we hit 25,584 overall in all books on Amazon, which is pretty good, but still didn't hit #1. So if you're going to get the book, pick it up on Amazon. You can get it as Kindle for like $10, or you can get it for, sometimes Amazon puts it on sale. I don't control the Amazon sales. Somewhere between $22 or $24.95 for the paperback. Or you could get it on our website or eBay or TikTok Shop, places like that. So if you really want to try to step up your game, I would definitely recommend it, and I would also recommend checking out Mad Gear Company. where you can get contingency planners on Write in the Rain paper. I did see a video the other day, and unfortunately, this is the advanced, or not advanced, like their premier kit that comes in the pouch. It's a Write in the Rain pouch made by Tactical Tailor, and it comes with a really nice mechanical pencil by Write in the Rain. But I think they're not able to get these pouches anymore in the quantity that they needed them. But they still have the advanced contingency planners with the packs that have, the cipher, all kinds of really amazing stuff in here. So you can still get the advanced kit when it comes to contingency planners from Mad Gear. You can check out Mad Gear. And of course, we do have an affiliate deal with Jace Medical. So if you're looking for emergency antibiotics, you can go to the link in our bio on all social media, and you can check out Jace Medical. All right. Anybody have any questions? Because I think probably end the live stream in a few minutes, but I want to make sure I answer any questions that anybody might have. Whatever it's about. Doesn't have to be about the book. Doesn't have to even be about the stream. Doesn't have to be about survival mindset. Ask away whatever you'd want to know. I am not an instructor, so I probably can't give you a good answer when it comes to something specific, depending on what you want to ask about. But I know plenty of instructors who have all the answers. Part of the beauty of Survival Summit is we work with a lot of different people and a lot of different experts in a lot of different fields in survival and preparedness. And we will continue to do so. And I do have USNEA is my go-to antibiotic. I never heard of that one. USNEA. I'll have to look that up. We used to have a deal with Duration Health, and they're a pretty awesome company as well. I ended up switching to Jace, not for any real particular reason. They also do a lot of chronic conditions. So if you have chronic conditions where you need emergency or medical for your chronic conditions, they also do that. And I think they do U.S. and Canada, and I think they're the only ones that also do Canada as well. Unfortunately for us, we don't sell any of our gear to Canada because the tariffs and just all the crazy shipping amount, it's just really out of control. So we stopped shipping to Canada, unfortunately. Maybe someday we'll bring it back, particularly if Canada becomes a 51st state, but that probably won't happen. But if it does, then it might make shipping a lot cheaper, and we don't have to go through customs anymore, and it'll just make things so much better on the e-commerce front. So we could potentially, Survival Summit could potentially have some pretty big news, but I really can't say what it is yet because I'm still working out the details and I'm still trying to finalize, but I may be taking on a new partner in Survival Summit, and he may be becoming actually a part owner, and a lot of you may actually know who he is. I don't think I've ever talked about him on the stream before, but that's as far as I'm going to go right now. I'm not going to say any more. So we'll be back this Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, but the most important stream is going to be next Tuesday. Next Tuesday. And I'm still trying to figure out if I'm going to do it live or not because I don't really want to expose people's actual email addresses on the live. But I kind of want to pick the winners to the giveaway live on the back end of my website during the live. But I got to look into that because, I guess it wouldn't matter because people that do win, they're going to get tagged on social media with their name. But typically we wouldn't tell people what their email is. That's the only part that it's kind of tripping me up a little bit. I really do want to, because I use software. We use the giveaway software. I literally can pick, okay, we have 10 winners. The first one is the main winner. The other 9 are the other, or the ones that win the book and the film. And I can literally click a button and then boom, it'll list all the winners automatically. Picks it randomly automatically. But I need to figure out if I'm going to do that where I don't know how to hide the emails. Maybe there's a way I can put another screen and block the emails and just show the names, but I need to figure that out. But I have a little bit of time to do that, so we will be announcing the winner, hopefully, and even if we don't show the screen, we're still going to be announcing the winner live Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, unless I get hit by a bus or eaten by a mountain lion or whatever. We should be announcing on Tuesday. And don't worry, I will also send an email to the winners, but that's it. I don't have your phone numbers. We don't do SMS. If you did join the giveaway, we didn't share your email with anybody. Survival Summit's the only one who will ever have your email. We have no partners in this giveaway. And again, I actually hate SMS, so I don't do, and you have to sign up for it specifically anyway, but I get a lot of stuff that I occasionally sign up for, not really paying attention, and I get text messages, and they're endless, and they're really, really annoying. At least with email, you can just put them, you can just delete them. But with the text, it's extra annoying. Because when I get text, it's usually from friends and family, and that's it. I hate getting text from businesses. Some people might love it. I'm not a fan. And if you missed this live stream, or if you just joined us, you can watch it again. Oh, no. Damn it. Now I have to wait to put it on Spotify because, again, for like the 50 millionth time, I forgot to hit record in Streamlabs OBS. If I would have hit record when it started, I wouldn't have to wait to download the crappier version from YouTube like tomorrow and then cut out the 5-minute timer and then add it to Spotify. So it's probably not going to get added to Spotify until sometime tomorrow because I forgot to hit the record button. Rabbit Peanut says you could just give the email header but nothing after the @ So, yeah, but I still have to block it on the screen because the only way I could do that live where people could see the winner get chosen is if I went to basically display capture. And you would see the screen and you'd see what I'm doing on the back end. But I don't know if that's such a great idea. I think what I'll probably do is I'll split the screen where I can see who's getting chosen and I can say what their names are. And then, whatever. We're still going to publish on social media who the winners are and all that kind of jazz. So, I don't know. Maybe I'll still do it where you can actually see the winners get chosen. I don't know. But remember, this is something very important to keep in mind. If you're a part of the giveaway and you're not on our normal email list, I've been sending an email about once a week with updates like when we added the ham radios and we did a couple other things. Please don't, if you unsubscribe, which is fine. If you want to unsubscribe after the giveaway, be my guest. But we've had about 27 people unsubscribe to general giveaway updates, which means they're never going to get the email if they win. So you're essentially disqualified. And it's in the rules of the giveaway. If you either click spam, which is way worse, because it's not spam, you chose to sign up for it, or if you unsubscribe, the only way you're going to get notified is through email. And then once we get a hold of you in email, we'll try to get your social handles so we can tag you in social media. But if you don't answer your email or you don't check your spam folder, then, or you didn't see the live and you don't realize that you won, that's on you. And I made sure to put that in the giveaway details, that if you, for whatever reason, don't get the email, as long as we sent it, you get 5 days, 5, count them, 5 days to respond. If you do not respond, it's going to really suck for you because we're going to pick the second winner and he will become, or he or she, the second winner will become the number one winner who wins the entire setup. And then we'll pick another for the other 9. We'll pick one extra. So again, you have 5 days, only 5, to email us back and give us your information. And we're going to need your social media handles because the last time the guy had a terrible social media profile, I got all kinds of emails, people that thought like we faked the giveaway because this guy had like the worst Facebook. I hope he's not watching. But he basically had like just a bunch of giveaway links. I talked to the guy. I verified he's a real dude. And he won, but he never took pictures of the gear. He never posted on social media. It was really, really annoying. But I had some emails where people were like, you faked it. I'm like, come on, man. So I put it in the giveaway rules that we are going to post your information and tag you on social media so that people don't think we're pulling a fast one and not actually giving stuff away, which some people might do, but that's pretty crazy. You could actually get sued for that, so don't do it. And it's dirty. Just don't be that kind of person. So again, 5 days. That's all you get. If you do not respond, even on day 6, well, on day 6, we're picking that other winner. So let's say we pick another winner because you didn't respond in 5 days. you're out of luck. Because if we already notified that other person, even if we already just sent the email, it's over. You lost out. Maybe we'll make you one of the second winners. You get a book and the film, but you definitely, if you don't respond, I'm sorry, I don't know what to tell you. We can't make everybody wait. There's something in the giveaway rules where we talk about rolling it over to another giveaway. We're not doing that. If somebody doesn't respond, let's say we reach out and somebody doesn't respond after a week, and then we pick a second winner and that person doesn't respond, we're going to number 3. If number 3 doesn't respond, we're going down the whole damn list. And if we have to pick another 10 winners all total to get the main winner and then the other 9, we'll do it again. Because you would be surprised at the amount of people who don't ever check their email. You look at average open rates. Even with the giveaway emails for updates, I think I'm at a 50% open rate. It means half of you are not even looking at the emails. So if one of those half would have won and never saw the email, well, sorry. You had fair warning. Just want to let you know. Anyway, all right. I think that's going to do it for the night. So again, if you missed the stream or you just got in, you can watch it again on all social media. As soon as this stream goes off, it'll be live on all the social media channels, and I will put it on Spotify as a podcast probably within 24 hours. It would have been tonight, but I'm stupid and I forgot to hit record, so that's not going to happen. And on Spotify, you can watch it and listen to it, but if you're driving, just listen. Don't watch. Don't be a danger on the road. Too many people looking at their phones while they're driving, texting while they're driving. It's dangerous. Get some damn AirPods, okay? And stop watching videos while you're driving. Don't be that guy. All right. Have a good night. I will see you Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the same channels, Facebook, X, YouTube.